Alright, we will get this show on the road in 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to my run. I am BeardedBusker, and this is Out There Somewhere. I'll be running a category called All Collectibles. Out There Somewhere is a 2D space puzzle platformer that uses this teleport gun that you just saw briefly in motion. It's kind of physics-based. You have to think on your feet a little bit, think about where you're going to be, not where you are, so it's really, really cool. The mechanics are very simple, but you get some pretty complex puzzles out of them. Conservation of momentum is applied, but there are a few grace frames anytime you respawn off a teleshot, so we're able to exploit it in a lot of very simple ways that compound very easily. Unfortunately, the hardest and most complex tricks all happen in this screen, so I gotta do them first and explain after. Alright, so here's the first one. Sweet, we're good. Here's the second one. Good, got that first try. That's the big kahuna. So remember that screen, we're going to come back to it, and all of the tricks are pretty much based off of it. We're out of bounds now on top of the game world. We're skipping over most of the exposition right now. And what made all of that work was the fact that when you respawn off a teleshot, your physical state is kind of preserved for 4 or 5 frames. So if I'm rising off of a teleshot, like I have a fresh jump, I'll keep my max jump height for a few extra frames, giving me a boosted jump, effectively extending my jump height from 2 tiles to 3. Or if I was standing on solid ground, when I respawn, it lets me jump out of thin air. This game has no double jump, but we kind of create one. So I'm going to go out of bounds again, en route to my first heart. On the second pass through the opening of the game, I'll try and explain some of the collectibles a little bit. So I just failed a dialogue skip. I was trying to leave the screen before that box telling me that I had picked up an item. You can do that in a lot of rooms thanks to This Is How My Mind Works, who I see in the chat. He discovered a ton of these little things, and they all save 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds apiece. Like, you see how long the text appears when you get an item there, and almost all of those are skippable. So we're heading towards the alien city to pick up the Gauss gun, which is a proper weapon that'll let us fight some of the enemies that we've pretty much skipped by going out of bounds. Then I'm going to have to save warp back to the opening of the game. What I think is kind of a cool design mechanic is that pure backtracking isn't completely possible once you pass a certain checkpoint. You actually have to know to either die or save out, having missed checkpoints if you want 100% the game. So the items that we're getting, in addition to just going through the narrative scope of the game, we're trying to get abandoned cores, which are sprinkled throughout the planet, and we'll eventually cash into a trader to upgrade our spaceship. There are ancient alien artifacts that will give us hit points. You notice I have 2. At the end of the run, I'm going to have 4. There's an upgrade to the Gauss gun that I picked up that you saw on screen for a couple moments, and there's a light orb, which actually fixes our spaceship. So we're going to see these physics tricks again here. So I'm going to put a lot of stuff together. I'm going to get a jump out of thin air, as I said, by standing on the ground right before it appears, and then I'm going to loop around with my fresh jump velocity, and there, boom. I'm going to try something really risky here. I could save 5 or lose 25. Whoops. Looks like we didn't get it at all. The game was made in Adobe Air, if you can believe that, and the developers were very careful to never have you standing on the edge of the screen like I am right now, because that makes like 4 corner-style screen transitions possible. It's a screen-based, it's not a side-scroller, and so things can go drastically wrong if you're actually on 2 transitions at once. The game's basically calling XML addresses, and so it's very easy to eject yourself a screen in the wrong direction if you're inputting any sort of X movement while you're transporting. If you're pressing left, you get ejected a screen to the right. If you're pressing right, you get ejected a screen to the left. And I've been failing it a lot recently, so I don't feel too bad that I failed it. So we've done a little more backtracking and set up another save warp. This is another place where you kind of have to know into a little bit of metagaming. We're getting an upgrade to our Gauss gun now. Watch the room title, by the way. Secret Cliff is the name of this room. This next one I always find kind of funny. Oh my god, you are stubborn, it's called. Alright. So, now we save warp again. We've got the upgraded weapon. And I haven't really tested the weapon yet, but I just want to show you the fire rate I have open for myself. The original weapon fires about twice per second, if that. So you just saw I've basically got a machine gun now. Since we skipped so much exposition, I kind of have to do it. These slime guys take 4 shots apiece. They're your primary antagonists throughout the early run. There's also little bats, and there's also big guys called energy brutes. These colored light beams come into play. The red ones kill your teleshot, so it just dies in midair. Not only is that bad from you having wasted a shot, but the first time you hit one, a dialogue box appears telling you you've hit one, so that's another 2 seconds of salt in the wound. We've already seen blue light beams because I skipped over the intended order of things, and those do act like walls for your shots, so we do have to use those throughout the run. And in fact, there's many places where we can save a bit of time by using them. So here's another nifty return shot invented by This Is How My Mind Works. Anytime you touch an item, the game runs for a few frames before that dialogue appears that we're trying to skip most of the time, and so you can set up return shots and other fancy things. Technically, I invented the one I'm about to do, but Mind Works was the first to actually execute it in a run. So that right there, we had our return shot ready as we touched the item. It's just a nifty looking trick shot. There's a lot of those throughout this run. Alright, so we're climbing up through the junkyard again. And the game clearly wants you to leave to the right here, but that sends you down a chute into some underground caves where there are some really funny talking NPCs, but unfortunately there's no collectibles down there, so in most of our speed categories there's no reason to ever go down there in the run. It's kind of a bummer actually, because it's a nifty area, and you get to meet some other allies. So these little slime guys are our allies. We don't have to worry about them, and in fact we're trying to save them from enslavement by Grigori, our arch nemesis. But we don't really talk to any until later in the run. So we're just charging through. Now we're ready to leave the alien city. There's no coming back now. I'm going to try one more dialogue skip here. I'm going to touch a heart and then die right away. Nope, missed it. Okay. So if I had touched the lava before that dialogue appeared, I'd have saved another 2 seconds. We're about to go underground into some caves now and learn some more of the mechanics that the game has to offer. If you've seen me run any % in-game time before, the next 30 or so seconds are going to look just like that run, because there's no collectibles down here. Unfortunately, we just can't skip them. So we're about to learn one new kind of light beam. Check that out. It lifts my teleshot to the top of the beam before respawning me. That means most of the time when we use these, by the time you respawn, you'll be standing on solid ground. In the past, we used almost every time we had a green beam. We abused that fact to jump around whatever block was containing the green beam, but now we have more reliable tech that's just as fast, and unfortunately I just failed twice. But so if you hear me allude later in the run to something called the green beam jump, that's what I'm talking about. You can jump right as you respawn off a green beam, move a little bit laterally, still get your jump out of thin air, and sometimes skip puzzles that way. There's 2 very late in the run that I'm coming back to. Alright, so now we're back out of the caves, and we begin what I consider the scariest portion when I'm doing marathon runs. The reason being, none of the tech is that hard, but as I climb this tower here, I go about 30 seconds without touching another checkpoint. So I just have to be very careful not to do anything boneheaded. Alright, and I just bonked, which is bad enough, but with the upgraded fire rate to my Gauss gun, that brute is not as scary as he'd otherwise be. This is a little bit unfortunate all the same. I'm not used to stumbling like that here. You might have just seen the brute reappeared. This game isn't on any sort of global cycle whatsoever. All the cycles restart when you reload the screen, so since I briefly left and re-entered, that brute could have been there to ruin my day again. Alright, we have to get the 9th of 11 cores now, so I'm going to drop down the side of this tower. And I'm going to do something riskier than necessary that's strictly for swag purposes. And as I said, this could prove to be very dumb, but kaboom. Alright, so yeah, I actually lost a little time by jumping because I got greedy. I could have hit the side of that elevator and saved a little time. Alright, so now we're in Grigori's stronghold, and a lot of the shots throughout this part of the run are going to look harder than they are. And they're easy to line up because gravity doesn't apply to your telegun. So all you have to do is look at the fact that the background is tile-shaped and line up your shot with the tile that you need. So I set up kind of a nifty save warp, also invented by This Is How My Mind Works, where I'm going to take some damage on purpose, and as I talk to this NPC, I'm going to die quickly and go back up to the area that he was opening up for us. So those guys in Samus Aran helmets are, gosh, I've been doing this in every marathon run. Sorry about that. And it's been kind of eating my jump input, and I don't know what's going on. Like, that's the 3rd time in a row I've dropped when I really shouldn't have. Cannot explain it. What was I talking about? Yeah, so the Samus Aran guys, they open gates for us to let us go further into Grigori's stronghold. There's 3 of them in the run, but we actually skipped 1. We only talked to 2. So now we're in the basement for our second to last abandoned core. 11, I don't know why there's 11 instead of 10. They just decided to go 1 extra. Okay. Sorry, a little sluggish there. So these rooms are on pretty tight cycles, and I have to be pretty rhythmic to beat them. So we're going to set up another death warp here. So we talk to this guy, then I'm going to jump into some lava. A funny anecdote about this room. I used to stream from a laptop that was even more cruel to me, and sometimes it would actually render the slime guy a tile too far to the right, making it impossible for me to go through the room with speed strats, but instant karma, the slime guy would get munched by an elevator because he was a tile right further than he was supposed to be. So you take the good with the bad. Alright, one last Mindworks-inspired dialogue skip I'm going to go for. I set up the save warp, I enter the secret chamber where the last tile is, we're going to try and drop out of the room right as we get the item. Got it. Sweet. Alright, so now we have to go talk to the trader who upgrades our spaceship for us because we bring him 11 abandoned cores. Now, anytime you touch an item in the game, it auto-saves for you. So for most of my save warps, I was able to just hit save and exit. Here I actually have, or save exit without saving. Here I actually do have to save and exit. Alright, so we're on our way out. We saved, we got the save warp, back to the menu. This final charge to the end is going to look like a joke because we have an upgraded gun, and none of the enemies have more than 4 hit points, so we just blast through. I don't have to worry about taking damage because, I've got 4 hearts. So we're going to try some nifty things here. Here's the first implementation of a green beam jump. So I bonk on purpose here, but I got just enough extra clearance that I can clear that room faster than you're supposed to be able to. Alright, I just got greedy and tried a damage boost that I wasn't really ready for. So you might have noticed this jellyfish guy who's trolling me now, he actually swallows your teleshots. None of the other enemies do that. There's 2 of them here, and you have to pay careful attention to them. Back before we evolved a lot of our modern tech, oh crap, this is bad. Before we evolved a lot of our modern tech, we paid a lot more attention to them and manipulating their movement pattern. So, I forgot that the dialogue wasn't going to appear, so I just jumped and fired needlessly into this jellyfish. He's really a ghost, but I think they look like jellyfish. So I tried and failed a damage boost here that I'm going to try again. There we go. That's what was supposed to happen. Just lost quite a bit of time. Yeah, as Razun said, he's a top runner of this game as well. He just said, ouch. Here's the most visually obvious implementation of the green beam jump. I'm trying to jump around this purple block so I don't have to clear the screen 3 times. And it's just not cooperating with me. In theory, you can get it like 9th try and it's still okay. Okay, we're just going to play the room casually. I have literally never had that happen before. Dang, son. So if I had actually jumped around that purple block, I wouldn't have had to do any of that. Whoa. Game, please. Alright. So we're about to do a skip of the final guard. I just thought 4th dimensionally, put myself in a ground state for 2 frames while that second shot was in the air, and it let me just skip all the zigzagging, and you saw there were 3 levels into that screen to the left, so it designs for you to backtrack a bunch, and I didn't have to do it, which is nice. Alright, so, meet Grigori. Bye, Grigori. Alright, so we fight him on foot and then in space. Thanks to our upgraded gun, this goes pretty quick. He takes 3 hits and then he switches walls. He has 19 hit points, so he's already more than halfway dead. And bye, Grigori, he gone. If you fight him casually, his attack patterns are actually really sweet. But, alright, so now I gotta switch to controller. Get ready on time, because we fight him in space. That lasts like 3 seconds, and then he's out of here. This was not my best work, but that's okay. Alright, basically 3, 2, 1, time. Ugh. So my in-game time is 11:05, but I died on a lot of stuff that didn't add to my in-game time. I'm probably around, what, a 12:30?
12:25, it looks like the final time is.
Okay, Christmas. Yeah,
GG.
The thing is, like, this game is all in micro mistakes, right? So small things just add up. Alright. We'll let the credits roll if any donations came in. We'll,
Indeed, we do have a few.
Sweet.
We have $10 from Slash Infinity. He says, "You mean I can donate for more PIDs?" Slash $15 from Rezunes, who says, "Good luck, Buster," and $10 from Self-Destructor, who says, "Fixed, OPOP."
Awesome. Well, I meant to shout out and donate for Hug Goat during this run, but thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for enduring the spaghetti. Hope you had a good time. Hope you consider playing this game, because it's a neat little indie platformer that needs more attention. The developers pay attention to the speedrun community. What more could you ask for?